Alright, time for another drawphysics.com, debatephysics.com, but as pointed out, no point in really having websites on the internet because Google won't let anybody see any of the content on those sites. So it really is pointless. But what are you going to do? Yeah, it's just so bad. Anyway, I mean, these arguments are just so stupid. Again, I'm sorry. I've spent my whole life kind of understanding that it was the 9.8 meters per second in 1 second. That it took a full second of something happening in gravity where you're falling for you to get 9.8 velocity. That if it was a half second, you weren't going to get 9.8. And if it was more than a second you were falling, well, then you got more than 9.8. So to me, it's always been a time-dependent force, always be understood as something's collecting energy as they are in the field of gravity. And I just can't imagine what you're thinking. Can't even imagine what it is you think it is. So anyway, so people have used different examples, so we'll try this. Okay, so, 4 pounds dropped 1 foot is supposed to be, okay, by axiom alone, okay, never by experimental proof. So we don't have an experiment for this. This simple thing, okay, all right, so these are all 1 unit of mass. This one's going to, we're talking about going 4 times the distance. 4 times the distance. Down here's the ground, let's say. Let me just put a ground line, okay. All right, and so I think people could understand that it wouldn't matter. I mean, if I drop all 4 on a spring, obviously it'll give me the total energy. If I drop them one at a time, I'll just get, 4 units of the same pressure, right? Now, if I drop 2 at a time, I'll get twice as much compression, and I'll get 2 of those. So, that's proportional. There's no indication that 2 of them is 4 times the compression or something like that. All right. So the simple argument is if I drop this free fall, it'll only take 2 units of time. And this is 1 unit of time. All right, so we're going to drop them 4.9 meters. Okay. And this one's going to be dropped obviously almost 20. And the simple truth is that you get this will hit with 9.8 meters of velocity, and each one will do that, and that's pretty obvious. All right, and so this would take, if I did them individually, you can understand it would take 4 units of time, right? 1 second each, 4 units of time. Okay, same thing's true over here if I did drop it off a staircase. Let's see, is that correct? 4? Yeah, okay. They're not proportional, obviously, and they should be. But it doesn't really matter for the sake of this argument, right? So we could say that when I drop it the first time, that's 4.9 meters. Okay? This is 1. So I dropped 4.9 meters. Right? Okay, so same thing, right? So if this was made out of some kind of really light material, you could understand the ground is going to feel exactly the same thing here. That's going to feel here. The spring will react exactly the same. So I dropped 1 mass, 4.9 meters. I dropped 1 mass, 4.9 meters. The spring registers exactly the same. All right, so I just drop it again, 4.9 meters. And I drop one of these, 4.9 meters. Okay, same energy, no problem, right? Yeah, no. But what have I got here? I've already got 2 units of time, right? So I got 1 unit of time here, 1 unit of time here. So I'm already at 2. All right, well, anyway, I do it again. Same thing, right? Same thing, 3. Okay, same thing on the scale. Everything's equal. Okay, another unit of time. And I do it again. Okay, same thing on the scale. 1 unit of time. All right. So clearly, same thing if I make this fall slower. Okay, if I keep it in the gravity longer. If I don't allow it to accrue velocity, it will weigh the same as this. But clearly if I let it fall, in 2 units of time, it's only going to be, let's see, instead of 9.4, 9.8, 9.8, 9.8, 9.8, it's only going to be 19.6. It's only going to get 2 units of gravity. It's not going to be 4 9.8s. It's only going to be this, 2 9.8s. So clearly a time-dependent force. Now, what I thought of was, well, just put more staircases in here, right? So if I convert this into, eight stairs, 8 steps, 8 steps, 8 steps, 8 steps. So you can understand 8 steps down, 8 steps down, and I double the time here. That'll be 2 units of time, and this will be 2 units of time, and this will be 2 units of time, and this will be 2 units of time. So now I've increased the time. It's in gravity, falling, free falling. We're just counting the time it falls. We're not counting the time to move it sideways or anything like that. Just the fall time. And so now I have 8 units of time. And now this will weigh twice as much as this. This will be twice as much work being produced in the ground. I'll move the spring, okay? I'll actually put energy into the spring, twice as much as this by just adding more stairs. And so we're really just saying the more stops, the more you prevent the gravity from acquiring velocity, that is escaping the gravity by moving fast. So the more you inhibit that and force it not to gain velocity, the slower the whole thing, the whole process takes longer to fall. So it takes a lot longer to fall in increments. And by lengthening how long you're in the gravity falling, you increase the amount of energy it has. But clearly, you can't you can't argue that this falling rate, just as the lifting rate, is the same energy. Because it's not. If I let it free fall, the simple truth is this will be 1 unit of time here in the gravity, and this will be 1 unit of time in the gravity. Okay, 1, 3, 5, 7. All I'm going to get is 2 units of energy. I'm not going to get 4 units of energy. Alright, so I just don't know what you're thinking or how you're thinking or how you can understand it any other way. So, I mean, it would be an interesting experiment to do, right? Just to see, if I just put more and more, if I just cut the velocity, keep forcing it to stop the velocity from making it hit the ground sooner, okay? And so lengthen the amount of time it's falling. The fact is I can increase how much energy I can take from the gravity because I'm allowing something to be in it longer by stopping this velocity cascade, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, goes on and on, right? No, 1, 3, 5, 7, yeah. It just keeps increasing. How much distance? Is there any other need to break this down in some other way? So the 4 units of distance when it's free falling, okay, and nothing slows it down, obviously this whole distance is just 1 exposure to paint. And this is 1 exposure to paint, length of time. You got a second's worth here, and you got a second spread over this huge area. So it's, it's not collecting as much paint per foot it's falling. I mean, there's a point where you just say it's hopeless. I mean, these are like water is wet kind of arguments. If you don't get that water is wet, I don't know. I mean, where do you start in terms of applying anything called logic or reasoning? And the fact that they haven't done any of these experiments, right? So they just haven't done any of them. They have no experimental evidence regarding any of these statements regarding what they say the truth is. They have done no experiments to verify it. Just a fact. I mean, like I said, they haven't dropped 4 pounds 1 foot and 1 pound 4 feet and shown us that there's the same energy in free fall. Like I said, I can do it this way. I can drop it slower down a staircase, or I could use a pulley and drop it slower. Can't really use a lever because the lever is going to it's going to show you pretty obviously, that 4 times the distance, it's twice the velocity is twice the velocity, and it's only, it's if it's only one mass and it's going twice the velocity, it can't equal 4 masses going one velocity. Yeah, 1 times 2 does not equal 1 times 4. Duh. Okay. All right. So, I don't know. Well, I'll pause and see if there's anything else. I could read some comments, but I'm just, the whole point of interacting is just lost all meaning, because there's just no rational counter arguments. Just isn't. Just mush, just lies, distortions, proclamations about what they say they know, they've proven. There's no evidence. No one ever links to any experiments ever, because you don't have any experiments. All right. Well, there's something keeps compelling me to make arguments, but there's no point. So but whatever. I'll just keep doing it. It's just a bad habit of thinking that somehow reasoning means something to you people. So I was just thinking about the idea of what you think how things move in the universe. All right. So let's say I had 3 things. Okay. And the idea is that they're just here. Okay. And then this force stuff is energy, and you even use words like quantum mechanics. So you seem to understand some idea that they've made some sort of argument that the energy comes in clumps, quanta. And the idea would be is that this would be pushed by a quanta, and this would be pushed by a quanta, and they're all going the same speed, so they have the same quanta of energy, right? And so let's just say that speed was 1 mile per hour, all right? And the idea is you're just saying, well, what if I stop these 2, and I took that energy and I gave it to 1? Well, then all I did was, I took 2 quanta of energy, and now I've got 2 quanta pushing 1, and it's going to go twice the speed, twice the velocity. And, I could just keep doing that. So I could have 1,000 atoms, moving 1 mile an hour. Okay. And then I could just theoretically say, okay, let's just remove the matter, let's take the force, and let's just put the force behind 1 atom moving 1,000 miles an hour. And that's all it is, right? ... It's just the same thing. It's the same energy. And so I can plow this into a field, of other objects, and you could understand that the other objects, like a pool ball hitting, a rack of pool balls, that whatever force this has, it's just going to share it. So I could take 3 of them over here and give it to this one, and I could take 3 for this one, and 6 for this one, and each one's going to take its percentage based on how the balls are racked and where you hit it and what angles the energy can leave at. But I'm just going to distribute whatever this had over all of these other balls, and I'm going to have the same amount. If I had 87 quanta of energy, momentums, okay, I'm going to have 87 here. The output is going to be the same as the input, the same amount of things not, moving. It's just about motion, all right? It's just and relativity doesn't change anything. This has 87 relative, motions, and there has to be 87 relative motions in the outcome. It doesn't matter whether one's going this way and one's going that way. Again, do you really believe I could hit a pool ball into 2 balls sitting this way, and I could put one going straight through those 2, and I could somehow give these energy and keep all my momentum going this way? No, of course I can't. As soon as I hit these others, I'm going to give them a percentage of whatever this had. Some percentage. If this slows down to 87%, well, then we know that this might be 6 and this might be 7. That, that's where it went. It went to these other objects, and it went in quantizable bits of energy. Why is this so hostile an idea to you? Why do you think of this and say, gee, that's so wrong. That can't be the truth. I mean, it's so simple and so obvious. It's just impossible to understand. Why do you hate the idea of quantized energy? Isn't that what this is arguing about? You know, you just hate the idea of it. Quantums of energy? Can't be. Energy's magical. All right, so I might as well do a couple of comments, but it's just people just belligerently ignorant and stupid. And, you know, what's the point? So this is like some fake person who's using the United States Geological Society logo. So we know this isn't a real scientist of any kind. I don't think science is really supposed to make sense. I mean, it's just the stupid, most ridiculous statement ever made. Religion isn't supposed to make sense, right? Because it's a fairy tale. You know, and it's happily ever after. That doesn't make any sense. No, it's death ever after. You know, disease and death. Yeah, fuck you. I mean, it's just so stupid. Everything about science is realizing that if something does something peculiar, there's a reason. Okay, it's not magic. That's the whole point of science, is to basically point out that there really isn't any magic. There's these really fundamental laws. Everything's obedient to them. I mean, so what are you, a religious kook? What is this? Do you really think science says that? That science says things like, well, it's not supposed to make sense. The universe doesn't have to obey the laws that we have written. You know, that, you know, I don't want to get into a free will determinism thing, but I mean, come on. Most of the scientists concede, okay, we're fucked. You know, the universe is unyielding. It does not provide any room for magical thinking. There's no room for it. And it's only the most desperately silly that try to force there to be room for it. But it's just not there. Everything about science says trees are trees. They're not platypuses. You know, they don't just morph into something. I mean, there's no undiagnosable phenomenon anymore. I mean, the jig is up. We figured out what geysers are. We figured out what's cause and effect. We can figure out all this stuff. There's no magic in there. There's no little homunculuses. I mean, fuck you. I mean, this is such an anti-science statement. It's just supposed to get the right answers. And it's the whole fucking point. You're getting the wrong answers. And it doesn't matter because it's all abstractions. I mean, 99% of physics now doesn't have anything to do with anything real. It just has to do with storytelling. They don't have to correlate it to an actual real event. They don't have to show you anything. So it's just, you know, I'm sorry you're so fucking pathetically stupid. But, you know, I'm sorry. If you're saying that 4 pounds dropped 1 foot is the same impact weight as 1 pound dropped 4 feet, you're just absolutely wrong. You're getting absolutely wrong answers. If you think a car crash at 100 miles an hour is 4 times the energy, you're absolutely wrong. Okay, it isn't. If you think a car crash at 3 times the velocity is 9 times the impact energy, you're just absolutely wrong. You know, if you think you can, you know, get into orbit flying at 60 miles an hour and use the same amount of fuel, you're absolutely wrong. So fuck you, idiot. Let's see, your analogies are just reductive reasoning. I don't understand. So isn't that exactly what you're supposed to do in science, is do that reductionism thing? You're supposed to reduce it to its parts. That's the whole idea of the dissection. That's the whole idea of analyzing it, you fucking idiot. So, I mean, this is so bad. You're just saying, why don't you just call yourself USG Christian? I mean, you don't have any reasoning here. You're not applying any reasoning at all. You're saying it's unscientific to do reductive reasoning. That's not science. I mean, just too stupid. I'm just going to remove it. It's too dumb. All right, and this other asshole, channel 123, WP6VS, whatever the fuck that could mean. All right, you don't really care about physics, do you? So, starts with a rhetorical, useless question. So, yeah, no, I've been doing this for 10 years. 10 fucking goddamn years. No, at a complete compromise of all the other things I could be doing with my life. Instead, I have to spend time doing all this researching to try to find any credibility to your science or any arguments you've made or any evidence you have. And the fact is you don't have any. So I can't show the experiments because you didn't do any. So I'm supposed to disprove the Eddington experiment by somehow doing the Eddington experiment. Well, I'm not doing that. You should prove something you're claiming, you fucking cunt. Let's say you were only interested in arguing. How could that even mean anything to anybody? So you really think that's an argument? That somehow arguing is fun? It's just such a silly argument to make when there's so much more, better things to do with my time, things I would enjoy more. So you think it's fun to sit here and be profoundly disappointed that you motherfucking lying pieces of dirt, I have to coexist with you, that you vote. Obviously, I mean, that's why we have shitty choices, is because morons like you are deciding what choices we're going to have. I mean, fuck you, till dead. Anyway, you make a revolutionary claim. It's not revolutionary at all. It's the claim Descartes, Galileo, and Newton made. There's no revolutionary claim here about momentum that could be demonstrated with a pair of pendulums. That's right, it could be. And unfortunately, you can't even go back to Newton because, this whole writing in Latin thing fails so dismally. Because if you read the two different translations, they don't even say the same thing. And Newton wrote it so badly. I mean, the whole word of reflection versus recession versus some other stupid damn. I mean, you can't tell what the fuck he's saying half the time. And it's really quite annoying. But what do you have? I mean, what do you have in the last 250 years, 300 years of experimental evidence? I mean, that's the whole point of my video. You have all this fucking science and you don't have any evidence. It's just a bunch of talking heads. It's a bunch of fucking puke numbers. And you don't have any physical experimental evidence. All right, demonstrate with a pair of pendulums and some measuring devices like a camera. Yeah, well, I've pointed out the experiment's fairly simple, especially with the uneven masses. And so we'll see if people who have those pendulums. Physicist Michael was supposed to do the experiment. I mean, he bought the materials, he made the pendulum, so why don't you ask him why the fuck he didn't film it? Why don't you just ask him why he didn't film it? I mean, even the whole thing collapses and falls over or does something, why don't you just film it? Why don't you ask him that, you fucking cunt? I mean, you're such hypocrites. You're such duplicitous hypocrites. You produce zero evidence and then say, well, why haven't you done all the experiments? Well, because I'm one person, that's why. And I haven't had 300 years, and I obviously don't have a laboratory. Somebody has to fund science. Without the funding of the English government, Faraday would have discovered nothing. Nothing. Zero. He couldn't do any of this stuff on his own. He couldn't get a vial of mercury and get this and get that, get all these materials. They're very expensive back then. He couldn't have done any of it without public funding, fuckhead. It's just a fact. You have all the money. Your scientists have all the money. Why can't they do the experiments? They're spending billions, okay, not just millions, but billions of dollars on LIGO and CERN and all this crap. And they can't spend a few 100,000 or a few thousand doing a pendulum experiment. How much do you think it would cost them to do it? How much do you think it would cost Fermilab, even with all their wasteful technicians and everything? What's the most they could possibly waste doing a pendulum experiment, right? Why haven't they done it, shithead? Why haven't you asked yourself that question? Oh, so have you tried it? Yeah, I actually did. So, I've done, and I've showed how imperfect it is. It's not the kind of experiment. Me doing it in my basement or on my porch is not good enough. It's just a fact. It should be done well and with the best technology, not with sticks and stones. I mean, you're such hypocrites. All right, it says no. Well, I did try it, so that's a lie. I had nice, I thought the steel bar one was a good one. But the problem was they twisted. So there's little subtleties, in all these experiments, these little tiny variables that can fuck everything up. So yeah, you can't use frame rates if the object's turning because its dimensions change. And you can't use cameras that have, whatever that's called, wide angle lenses, and they almost don't sell any anymore. They don't. All right. You don't pay attention to the experiments other people have done. So what a lie. I mean, they're in my video record. They're right there. You can see all of the experiments that have been done in my video. So why are you saying I don't pay any attention? I do. And I point out the grotesque flaws. And that's what I did in the video you're commenting on. I'm pointing out the absolute disgusting dishonesty of these people to produce experiments that are so poorly conceived. It's in the fucking video you're commenting on, you fucking piece of shit. I mean, this has got to be Farley. I mean, who would do this? Can anybody really write this kind of a stupid comment? It's just amazing. You cherry pick the ones in which you can find something to complain about. Well, all of them you can find something to complain about. There's not a single one of them that you think it should be held up and a paper should be written about any of those experiments. That somebody should write a scientific paper saying, look at this piece of sterling evidence? You really think so, you fucking idiot? And you're the one talking about other people caring about physics and science? Do you care that you care so much about physics that you want it to be done as badly as possible? Chicanery and deception should be the rule, not something you avoid like the goddamn plague. I mean, yeah, you understand science. You are such a liar. Let's see, anything at all. What does that even mean? Complain about anything at all. You should complain about any defects in an experiment. And there weren't small defects in Dispar's experiment. They're grotesque fucking goddamn fucking mistakes. Grotesque measurement errors. Grotesque. I mean, he doesn't know what a center of mass is. Do you know what the center of mass is of a pendulum? A pendulum on a stick? Do you understand that concept, you fucking lunatic? Oh, so pathetic. The SPAR lab has at least 2 videos of 1 to 3 pendulum collisions which allow you to approximate the vertical heights or horizontal velocities. Well, why don't you do that? I can't see it in any of those videos. The angle, he films them at these silly angles. You can't use any real references, and then he puts a fake ruler on top of the experiment, which doesn't make any sense. The ruler has to be where the experiment's taking place to get rid of any of those parallax defects. I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous science. You can't understand how it's ridiculous science to not understand things, variables like center of mass and parallax, and he's using a wide angle. Look at the last one. He does it with the frame rates, and look at when the object goes towards the sides of the frame. All of a sudden, it's not even round anymore, and it's not even round by a lot, not a little. Okay, it's like one round object is like 2 round objects. It's like twice as wide as it is high. A huge distortion. All right, did you even try to do it? No. So more crap. I have done the experiments, okay? And my results aren't their results, we'll just point out. But I'm not as obnoxious as they are in the sense that I don't think my experiments are good enough to be called a proof. Or maybe you did, but could not come up with the explanation for the results. So that's another lie. Yeah, so, I mean, it's just a constant. So this is all you're going to represent yourself as a huge cabal of liars, right? You just show up here and lie, all right, and talk shit that's completely hypocritical. I mean, your own science doesn't produce any evidence, and that's okay with you because it's a religion and it's allowed not to produce evidence. Is that your argument? Oh, you people are so disgusting. You don't pay attention to what people tell you about the history of the theory. So this is another gigantic lie. I have more history video, more of the history of the kinetic energy theory videos than anyone on the internet. Without a doubt. I've researched more of it, I've talked about more of it than anybody else on the internet. Without a doubt. You're the one who's ignorant of the history. You're the one who's ignorant of the de Chardonnay sand and clay experiments and just how silly they were. How it was really bad science, okay? All right. You still think that Newton is on your side, and there has been zero experimental evidence for the conventional theory in 300 years. Yes, of course, there's zero evidence, or you'd link to it. So if you had evidence, you would link to the evidence. So obviously, there's zero evidence, because not one single link can you provide to any credible experiment demonstrating kinetic energy being collected. Not a single experiment. All right, and as for Newton being on my side, I'll just take the simplest quote, right? Twice the force, twice the motion. Whether you think of motion as velocity, or think of motion as momentum, it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously he's saying the force equals the momentum, not 4 times the energy, none of that crap. You don't need 4 times the force to get twice the momentum, none of that crap. When people pointed out that Newton himself did experiments supporting the theory, so there is no such thing. So that's just a lie. So there's no experiment with a 3-to-1 mass where he says, look, I made free momentum. That isn't there. What there is some confusing crap about stuff going in different directions and starting with 16 and ending up with 18, but nothing that goes anywhere close to your silly theory where if I bang the object into something really heavy, I can make twice the momentum and I still get all my money back. So I get twice the momentum and all my money back. I mean, it's the literal truth, right? I take a 5 mass and I take a 1 mass. I put the 1 mass in, I get 200 momentums going this way for free, and this swings back. So if it's a pendulum, I get to use the same energy again. Yeah, so I got 200 momentums going that way, and all I have to do is put another 5 mass in there, and I can hit it again and get free momentum, and then it'll swing back up, and then I can stick another one in, and free momentum. I mean, maybe I'll draw that. I mean, that's your theory, you fucking lunatic. That's what you're saying I could do. I could invent this machine that's perpetual energy machine. Where I can just it's not even perpetual motion, it's perpetual energy. And you're defending it. You're such a piece of garbage. You're just such a piece of garbage. I just don't believe. I can't believe, how dishonest and creepy and stupid and moronic and arrogant and obnoxious and dumb you fucking pieces of garbage are. And I wish some of you had a real account, frankly. It would be nice if somebody on the internet was a real person instead of all a bunch of fucking anonymous mud-slinging cowards. Dickless fucking cowards. You're such a dickless coward. All right. So this is his theory. This is science. All right. So I have a pendulum. I'm going to swing in with 100. Going to be really good and elastic. Okay, this is a 5 mass. Well, let's make it big because it's a 5. This is a 6 mass. It doesn't matter how big I make it. It really doesn't matter. I mean, once you're over 5 or 6, it doesn't matter. And so their theory is that this 100 will go in, all right, momentums, and I'll get 200 momentums out. So this will come out with 200 momentums. All right, so I got 200 this way, and I get all of my 100 back. So it swings all the way back up to this 100 point again. And so all I have to do is, this got pushed out of the way, so it's like a gun. The bullet shot, so all I have to do is slide another one in. So I just slide another 5 mass in, okay? And bang, 200. And I get all of it back. Swings all the way back up here. I get to use it. Oh, okay, I can do it again. I just slide another 5 mass in there. Bang, 200. I can just do that, in a frictionless environment like space or something. I could just do that all day long. Yeah. Perpetual bullets. That's your physics. It's just absolute nonsense. I mean, it's so trivially stupid. I mean, it's just, yeah. And you talk with such arrogance, like you know something. You're such a coward, such a weasel. Show your fucking face, you piece of garbage. All right, when people pointed out that Newton himself did experiments supporting the theory, so there's no such experiment. Did you go and read what Newton found? So again, there's 4, 5, 6 videos of mine where the actual text of Newton is there. We're drawing it on the board. I mean, amazing horseshit. No, the answer is yes. Yes, I did, liar. Okay. I think you are worried about what you might see there. Prove me wrong. So you don't have to prove you right. Right? So that's the catch, right? Just tell your fables and then say, prove me wrong. Well, I think this proves you wrong. The fact that I can invent a device that will create perpetual energy, I think proves you wrong with your physics. I can use your physics to make a perpetual energy device. I think that proves you wrong. So he had some interaction with Bald Base, and then he resorts to the Newton paragraph, and I just re-quoted him what Newton really said. Okay, and it's pretty clear Newton was a conservation of momentumist. He didn't say anything about conservation of the living force or mv squared. It's not mentioned anywhere. So it's just a lie to say Newton was a Leibnizian. And of course, the whole controversy that the French were arguing for, 70 years was about this very point. If Newton agreed with Leibniz and Huygens, why was there a controversy? Why was there a living force controversy if there were no Newtonians rejecting it? Do you understand how big a liar you are to imply that the history doesn't say overtly that Newton and Leibniz disagreed? It's just an absolute fact that they disagreed. I mean, god damn, you're such liars. All right, so that's no point. No point. It's just really, it's gotten so bad on this planet. Just finding a rational person, a reasonable person, a fair person. No, humans don't come in that shape anymore. And it's tragic. They've lost all integrity, all dignity. There's no such thing. It's disgusting. I'm the last human. I'm about, the last one that, is going to die with his boots on, so to speak. The last human with any kind of shred of character. Okay. And that's the truth you're proving. Alright, so till the next time and such, all you lying sacks of suck. Ugh, fuck. Get what you deserve, bastards. Everybody, fuck you. Fuck you. Get the fuck you, karma.